Welcome back to the Digital Difference Maker YouTube channel. My name is David. And today, what we're going to discuss about is how to take a loss. Yes, so this is an interesting topic, and it's one if you're in the entrepreneurial game, if you've done any kind of freelancing, if you've won any kind of business and you're managing business, you have to become very familiar with how to take an L. And there are good ways, I think, that are healthy to take from how to take a loss. And there are ways that aren't so healthy. And really, being a human being that lives in the world, you have to know how to take a loss anyways. Because you're not always going to win, and things aren't always necessarily going to go your way. Oftentimes, especially in the beginning, they won't go your way. A lot of what you do will not happen the way you want them to, but that's part of the journey, right? So what does take a loss mean? So take a loss really is synonymous with either losing business, losing a service, your revenue going down. That's what it means in the business sense, in business terms. Maybe a key relationship didn't pan out. Maybe something you anticipated in increasing your level of education or level of connections didn't work out. You get fired. A whole bunch of different things can happen. And there's ways to take a loss better than others, you know. So with that, why am I making this video? Well, inspired by true events, I have to take a loss this week. Things didn't turn out the way that I wanted them to. I have been working with this business for a little bit of time, and we established this new service. It's an SEO service, and unfortunately, they felt as though they didn't receive the results that they were looking for. And, with that, what does that actually mean? And this video will help not only me digest and unpack what happened, but also help me prevent losses in the future. Because there are things that you can do, especially when you have a solid relationship with your client or with whoever you're doing business with, and how to deal with it. So some things that happened to me lately, so you know, is someone that I counted on for a longer period of time, let me down significantly. And they were probably not going to work together anymore, unfortunately. And then right after that, that's when the business that I was performing these SEO services for contacted me. Well, it was actually they didn't contact me. I found out on my own, which is, not as much fun. But because I was paying attention, I found out on my own. And then we had a discussion, and they came forward and told me, look, we want to go with a different company for this service. So what's the first stage, right? Well, anything in loss, let's make sure I can float on top here. Anything with loss, right? You're going to go through grieving. Is that how to spell that? How do you spell that? Grieving. Emotions are going to come into play. When you put something, especially in a business sense, in an entrepreneurial sense, when you put a lot of energy into something and you connect the dots and you make it work and you do all the work, and then it doesn't go your way, at least for me, anger. I was angry. I was frustrated. You feel all of these feelings and you want to react, right? So let's title this. It's the organization part in me. Taking an L. So I'll zoom in for all of you. So, yeah, you want to react. You want to do all these things. And this is actually more so about combining emotional intelligence into the business sector. How can we channel it and do it in a little bit of a different way where it's actually beneficial to us? So you want to react. This is like your first stage. The best thing to do, and even though you do not feel like it, this is what I find the best thing to do. Do something else. At least for me, when this happens, I want to solve the problem. I want to create solutions. Either I want to justify my service better. I want to prove that whoever is taking it over from me is doing it worse than me, and I can do it so much better. You want to do all these things. It's like I want to show my value. How could they not believe me? Blah 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 blah. Honestly, that's the reaction part, and that's the solution-oriented part, coming out in a different way. I would recommend do something else. Go do some sort of activity. Spend time with friends, family. Try not to talk about the L too much. A great expression you can have is something like, someone asks you, how was your day? You could respond, well, it didn't go as planned. This happened. But I want to enjoy other aspects of life right now, and I'll figure it out later. That's a perfectly acceptable answer. And in my situation, what did I do this week? Well, I'm not saying to not deal with it. You have to deal with it, but you also need to give yourself a break. I'm trying to talk about the L too much. Give yourself a break. Give yourself a break, man, or woman, whoever's watching this. Give yourself a break. You can't just solve all the problems and go through everything at once. You need to give yourself space. You need to give yourself space in the context. Give yourself some space. Distance yourself from the work/event for a period of time. You'll deal with it later. You got to give yourself some space, right? So with that, what did I do? An example of what I did, I called a family member, called my mom. I explained to her what was going on. That way I don't let it fester. I kind of unpack it, process it, get some of that emotion out, and I trust her to be able to listen to me. I trust her that I can instill some of that in her, and that way I express it. All right, cool. And I do it in the most healthy way that I can. After that, what did I go do? I went and did a hobby. One of my hobbies is to learn to dance. So I really didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like going out after that. Felt beat up all day, and I just wanted to lay in my bed and watch Netflix and eat food and be sad. But I picked myself back up, and you have to identify that little spot, and you're like, okay. And the main thing that helps a lot is just putting one foot in front of the other, right? Put one foot in front of the other. That's how the main habits and success is built. It's just by the little steps and actions that we do consistently. So when you're not feeling like doing something, just do it for 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Just get yourself in that momentum, and it'll go better. So I went to go practice some dance. I went social dancing. I met some new people. I completely put that aside. I knew it was happening, but I completely put the business aspect aside, and then I went to go do something that I enjoy that completely took my mind off of this, right? I took that off. I took the night off, and then what I did, establish a time when you're going to come back to it. So in my head, mentally, I knew that I was going to go out and do my own thing. I was going to go do my hobby. And then mentally I said, okay, I'm going to address this tomorrow morning. I'll have more of a clear head. I'll have slept about it. My emotions will be less. If you can sleep on it, do it, right? So, okay, you're grieving, which is the emotions. You identify your emotions. You want to react. Do something else. I'm going to put something in here. Express your emotions / situation to someone that you trust to listen. Family, friends. If you don't, if maybe nobody's available at that time, or you don't have that relationship, record a video, record a voice memo, and express it to an audience. It could even be me. You express it to someone. That way you can get that emotion out, and you can come more to terms with it. So, all right. So do something else. Talked about a hobby, or spending time with family or friends, or just to get your mind off of it. Get your mind off of the issue completely. So then, establish a time when you're going to come back to the issue and resolve. And have some sort of resolution, right? Definitely sleep on it if you can. So, all right, so now let's say you're coming back to the time where you have to resolve it. And let's say it's a situation where you have to address other people, or you have to, correspond via email or something like that. How do I compose an email? I'm going to say in email form. How do I compose a message identifying and being able to save face? Because in this instance that I'm talking about, I lost a service, right? I didn't lose the relationship. I still maintain and keep the relationship, and it's healthy. We're doing other projects and things like that. But when you put your heart and soul in something, it affects you. And you want to make sure that you continue to be healthy in the relationship, even though certain things didn't go your way, right? Especially in a business sense, because if you don't pay attention to this, it could cost you the relationship and cost you money and time and effort and all sorts of things. So let's say you have to address. Usually I use some variation of the formula: feel, felt, found, right? Which is pretty widely well known in sales. I feel, I understand, feel could be something like, I understand that you all want to move in a different direction. For this instance, service, etc., SEO management, Facebook advertising. I would say something along the lines of, this isn't the best news, or identify that this isn't the news I was hoping for, or something along those lines. Call it out, because it's not. But then also, but I do understand the situation. I would do something like, let's move my little camera up. I do understand the situation. This isn't the news I was hoping for, but I do understand the situation. And if you're talking to a business owner, it is your business, and it's ultimately your decision. And it's ultimately your decision. Something along those lines, because we can't control certain things, and we have to recognize that. You can also say, I'd like to ask for feedback on why you're deciding to go in a different direction for the service, or, go with a different company. And in this instance, because of the relationship I had with these individuals, they did call me pretty much the same day and expressed why. So I didn't have to do that. Then it's more important. Okay, so before I do that, so feel, felt, found. Feel, felt, found is more of a sales, like you're trying to get someone to do something. It may not necessarily work in this instance. It's really just understanding. But you can use some of the instance too. You can use, if you know who your competition is, who you lost the business to, you could, for felt, if I were you and in your position, this would be after feedback. I would feel the same way. And then found, what I found is by using your service, using, I'm going to say competitions. Spelling is hard. Service, please watch out for. So this isn't necessarily a knock. This is you taking the advisor route. So let's say you lost a service to your competitor and you know a very in-depth thing about your competition or about the service that they offer versus the service that you offer. I always like to give guidance. So that's the part of found. So, hey, I understand, to recap, feel, I understand you want to move in a different direction. Felt, if I were in your shoes, I would feel the same way because of the feedback that you provided me. So felt happens after receive feedback. Receive feedback. I didn't plan on making this whole outline. I actually was only going to talk for a few minutes, but I guess this is getting into more. So found, what I found is by using the competition service, please watch out for. So you're acting as the consultant. You're acting as the advisor. You're going, hey, I know you want to move in a different direction. I don't necessarily agree. However, if you're going to do that, please watch out for X, Y, and Z because these are really important. So, an example would be, let's say, SEO, local SEO services moving to Yext. Well, Yext management, because of that, through Yext, you will not own all of your citations. Please be aware. So there's a difference there. It's almost like a little knock on Yext or a little knock on the business. It's not like you're trying to say, oh, they suck. No, it's more so saying, hey, here's a key difference. Please make sure that you keep this in mind because it could be very important to your business and it could be very important to your perspective. Because oftentimes clients and people in business, acquiring digital marketing services or what have you, and this isn't anything too, when you go with another service, there's going to be pros and cons. Advise them on some of the cons to look out for because we don't always know exactly what's going to happen and we don't always know exactly what we're getting into. So you as the advisor, you as the expert, especially still maintaining the relationship, make sure you keep that in mind and let them know in a way that's always positive for the business. That's the number one thing. Keep an attitude of always wanting the best for the business. If you always want the best for their business, even if you take a loss this time, they're gonna remember that. And I'm gonna make one final note here. And this is super key in life. Yep. So what do I mean by this? I'm trying to emphasize it. It's more important how you maintain an exit than how you enter. When you come into something new, oh, it's new, it's fresh, it's exciting, blah, 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 blah. It's more important how you maintain the relationship and how you deal with adversity. Stuff is not going to go right, but how do you deal with it? Do you own up to things that don't go right? Do you seek for feedback? Do you try and you become more solution orientated? It's more important how you maintain and exit. You want to exit with grace. We're all going to have to leave this life at one point or another. Not to get super philosophical, but it's true. It's really important in life, but also specifically in business and a relationship, how you exit. And we're not really exiting, but you're exiting this chapter. You're moving on from this chapter. So again, it's dealing with adversity, it's dealing with conflict, it's resolving that, and always looking out for the best interest of the business. And if you do that, and you align your principles, and you align your services, and you align everything with that, ultimately, that's the end goal. And what is that for any business? It's revenue, it's growth, it's efficiency. Those items are extremely important. So I could go on and on about this. Hopefully this provided some value for some people. I'm going to include this document within the description. If you like it, there's going to be typos everywhere. So, but at least I'll clean it up. I won't just give it to you guys unedited. I'll look through this, and at least you guys have some sort of reference on how to take an L, because taking an L is pretty important. You're going to go through it in life. And to exit with grace and to move on to a different chapter with as much grace as possible is ideal. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have emotion. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be angry. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be frustrated. I think that it's healthy to be all of those things, but then be able to express them, move on from them, cope with things not going your way, and then move toward a solution-oriented goal or a solution-oriented thought. What am I trying to say? A solution-oriented action is always the best. All right, guys. Hopefully that helped. This was a more philosophical explanation and expansion on not just business but life, but taking an L. It happens. Thank you all very much. I'll see you in the next video.